Do you ever wonder what I really think about all those new plants I grow every year? Well, today we're going to find out. Hey everyone, I'm Erin the Impatient Gardener, and today we're going to be talking about the new plants that I grew this year and the new to me plants that I grew this year. So some of these are new to the market or coming out next year. Some of these are just new to me that I thought were worth commenting on one way or the other. The two plants that are both new and new to me are right here next to each other, and let's just start with those. So here's Medusa Black Sweet Potato Vine. Now this is the second in the Medusa line from Proven Winners. The first one was a green, which was quite interesting. I greatly prefer this black one to the green one. You can see that it's sort of notable for the very deep lobes that it has. The new foliage on it comes out kind of nicely green, which I like that two-tone look quite a bit on it. The purple foliage does not seem to get burned at all. I've got this in a couple of locations. I'll show you the other one in a second here. In general, I think this is a really good textural element in either container or as you see it here in the ground. I will say this is more vigorous than I expected it to be and more vigorous than the green compared to the year that I grew that. I have had to cut this back quite a bit. That said, it takes very well to cutting back like a lot of sweet potato vines. I just cut all the stems from underneath the bottom and you don't see them. The other place I grew it was in this container by the garage, and I actually put two of them in here, and it's all I can do to keep up with the pruning on these because this guy is really quite aggressive in this container situation, so I've really had to cut it back quite a bit. I would say it would do great in a bigger container probably, and I still think it's beautiful in a container accent, but keep it with, you know, equally vigorous plants is what I would say. Right next to Medusa Black is this Superlo. Now, this is a new plant to me. I did not familiar with Calyophus at all. And this is one of those plants that I think is sort of geared towards the southern region because it does very well in sort of a droughty situation, I think. I like the texture on it. I like the flowers on it. It has bloomed pretty much all year for me, even here. And this is not an area where you would expect something that's sort of meant for a southern area to do well. I think it was really in a nice spot here. So I think front of the border, along the edge of a path, all good spots for it. I would not hesitate to grow this again. I think this sort of lemon yellow flower is, you know, perhaps a little challenging to mix into the garden. So I just think you got to be a little careful about what you put this next to, but otherwise I have no complaints and I'd gladly grow this plant again. By now you probably know that I'm a big lover of dahlias, and while I won't show you every new one that I'm growing this year, I will show you this one which just started to bloom for me. This is Bloomquist Blush. First of all, these are new first this week, so we're in mid-September and I'm seeing my first flowers, which is not a great aspect for a dahlia. On the other hand, everything is late, so I'm not going to hold it against it. And sometimes new plants, that's kind of how it is. But this flower, so by the way, there's a lot of cucumber beetles in these right now, so the blooms aren't perfect, but really pretty. You can see they have just tons of petals in that sort of, I think this is like Fibonacci sequence kind of thing happening here. And each petal is just edged ever so slightly in kind of a lavender color. It's gorgeous. And the other thing is that this plant is maybe 4 feet tall, which to me is still a reasonable size for a dahlia. I do get frustrated with like 6, 7, 8 foot tall dahlias because they're just really limited on where you can grow them. I am in love with this, so this gets a too enthusiastic thumbs up. So I feel like I really did a good job limiting myself in terms of the number of new dahlias, like fancy dahlias that I got this past year. But I'm not disappointed at all that I bought this one. So this one is called HollyHill Pinkie. And actually, I wanted one called HollyHill Martini, which was kind of a water lily form. It was sold out. And I thought, well, this one's pretty nice too, and kind of has a similar look without being a water lily form. And this is like a lacinated, I don't know if this is classified as decorative, but this is a lacinated type. And I'm a little fussy about pink dahlias in this kind of Pepto-Bismol pink range because This color can bug me a little bit. But what I love about this one is how when they start opening, they're basically white at the centers with just like kind of pinky lavender at the tips. And then as they open, you see that color. I mean, this one's basically almost done. You see that color develop and it gets sort of pink throughout. This one is sort of, the petals are starting to wrap around. So this one's probably like at its peak right here. Really a beautiful one. And again, I mean, okay, it's flopped a little bit here, but this is probably a, 36 inch, maybe 42 inch high dahlia, which is a height that I'm okay with. I feel a bit bad because I keep talking about this dahlia and I cannot remember the name of it. But I did talk about it in a video, so I'm gonna go back and watch the video and put the name on the screen for you. It's beautiful, I love it. It's about 14 inches tall, probably. Grows, again, another one with that kind of white in the center as the flowers open. I would describe this as raspberry, that'd be the color I would call this. And has just bloomed like absolute just craziness. I just did a lot of deadheading on it just now, so I missed one right here. So there would be more flowers on it, except that anything that was even slightly over, I just took off. Maybe 14 inches tall, bloomed all summer. I don't know if it will be a good tuber former, but I would be more than happy to buy this as an annual and grow this up. Perfect for containers. I think that's its calling, is containers. So you might remember that this year I planted a Dierama, which is Angel's fishing rod, one of my gotta have it plants. And even though it's only hardy to zone 7 and it likes really good draining soil and it will not tolerate winter wet, I decided to plant it anyway. And I planted it in a pot. And well, let me show you it. Oh, that's it, because I'm holding it. And it looks basically exactly like it did when I put it in the pot. It's actually, well, it actually has lost a few leaves, but it's got a few new ones coming, and that's all it's done, this. So, do I like it? I can't tell you. I haven't killed it yet, but I imagine that's coming soon. Anyway, it was not a real successful experiment, but I haven't given up on it yet, so who knows. Well, I'm going to sit on the stairs so I can talk about this plant over here. This is Mini-Me Chartreuse coleus, and I thought I was going to love this coleus. It is the sister, or the next in the series, I guess, of the Mini-Me series from Proven Winners. And the first one was watermelon, and I really liked watermelon, although this year I learned that you have to be careful what you plant with it because it's pretty loud. So I planted this in 3 places. I have this in the window box, I have it in the circle garden, and then the leftovers went here. And I don't like it. I thought I was going to love it. I like highly textural plants, and this certainly has that. But you can see here in the sun, this got really bleached out. I mean, it's basically yellow. It got very bleached out. It got bigger than I thought it would, and it got kind of mangier looking than I thought it would. This gets water. This is on drip over here. So this gets water, regular water, so it's not a watering issue. I mean, and if you cut down in there, you know, the chartreuse foliage, I guess maybe the trick was to prune it a little bit, because maybe, can you see that the chartreuse foliage in the center is actually quite nice? It's these sort of haggard tips on it that I don't think are particularly nice. In addition to that, I'm not sure I like the texture on it that much now that I see it in person. And maybe that's because it's such a mass. There's no air in it, you know? I don't know. But anyway, this plant was not something that I liked nearly as much as I thought I was going to this year. These have not been cut back for a while, so that's my bad, and they should have been. But this is cherry cordial annual phlox. This was new to me this year. It's not new on the market by any means. Cut flower growers have been growing this for ages, but I wanted to try growing this as a garden plant. And in general, I would say I was very successful with that. And I actually think it's a great garden plant, and it's nice because as long as you keep cutting and watering and a little bit of fertilizer, it'll keep pumping out flowers. So it's a garden plant that encourages you to keep cutting on it. So, you know, don't pay too close of attention to what it looks like right this moment in this garden bed as a garden plant. Because again, I have not been through to cut it all back. I probably should just cut it all back again. I bet you I can get a whole new flush out of it yet this year. But really pretty, beautiful. And I think the color on it really lends itself to a lot of interesting combinations. Here I put it with these pelargoniums, which I think it works with. I think it would work with so many other plants as well. Here's another new sort of cut flower plant that I grew for the first time this year, and this is Didiscus. So Didiscus I thought was going to be much bigger than it is, but hopefully you can see that sort of sky blue color on it. It's really pretty. I wouldn't say it's great as a garden plant. Honestly, I can understand why cut flower growers just grow this through mesh to kind of keep it upright. But it's got kind of a Queen's Anne's lace feel to it. And those colors are really pretty. Now, I grew this one from plugs that I bought from Farmer Bailey. And probably if I ever grow it again, that's how I'll do it again. I'm not going to fuss with the seeds on that one. Here's something that I think is probably really good that I grew for the first time. And I don't know that you're going to necessarily be able to even see this, but it should not be in here. I'll just start by saying it should not be in here with all these coleus. You can't see the texture of the coleus, and this have way too similar of a texture. Let's get past my planting mistakes here and talk about this though. And this is a panicum called Frosted Explosion that I grew from seed, and it's starting to flower now. And I think it's beautiful. Now, some of it got weeded out because it looks like a weed until it's flowering. But I think it's really interesting. It's one of these plants that honestly it didn't start doing much till later. This Frosted Explosion panicum is one of those plants that if I had a growing area, it would be perfect. Like, you know, that I could tend to, sort of a greenhouse-esque kind of situation, so that I could bring that in later because it really doesn't look like much. It's hard to differentiate it from a lot of weeds until it starts flowering, but once it starts flowering, it's so good. And unfortunately, I don't think there's garden centers near us who are equipped for like selling a plant to you in July. So I think if I would want that to plant later, I'm going to have to be the one to do it. Still, keep it on your radar if you want that and you've got some way to manage that until it's time for it to look really good. I think it's super cool, and I grew it from seed, and it was very easy to grow from seed. All right, this is one of, thank you. This is one of the new nepetas that I grew this year, and this is Chartreuse on the loose, which has been on the market for a while. I don't think this is new, and I love it. I will say the color looks really good. The color's been holding very good, and I would say the flowering was okay on it. I wouldn't say the flowering was great. I do wish the flowers were slightly darker on this. I mean, it would be really outstanding if these were darker, but that's okay. I still love it. I think it's a great way to get, I mean, nepetas offer so much. I mean, they're deer and rabbit resistant. They rebloom continuously. They don't ask for much. You don't have to fuss over them. So it has all those great characteristics with the added benefit of the beautiful foliage color. But let me show you another plant. Now this is Lemon Queen. Now Lemon Queen is, I think, maybe new next year or new this year from Proven Winners and Walter's Gardens. And this is, you know, sort of a direct comparison to Chartreuse on the loose. This one's in a pot. I do have one growing in the ground, but it came in a quart-sized container. And I tell you what, quart plants really have to be very aggressive in my garden to really establish themselves in the first year because everything else is so much bigger. So I think this is beautiful. I saw this when I was at Walter's Garden and I thought it looked amazing. I mean, I actually thought it was the best looking nepeta they had growing them. So let me put these two side by side just so you can see them. Okay, so down here, right here is Lemon Queen, and beyond that is Chartreuse on the loose. I mean, Lemon Queen, in this case, has way more flowers on it. I would say the foliage color is the same to slightly better on the Chartreuse on the loose, but these have been growing in different locations, and so a lot of times foliage color is determined on how much sun they're in, so I don't think that's a good comparison. I do think that, well, I believe that they have a direct comparison between these two, so let me put on the screen some of what they say is supposed to make Lemon Queen better. But anyway, in either case, I think these are really good plants, and I'm always happy to add Chartreuse and a nepeta to my garden. Okay, it's super dry in the garden right now and everything needs some water, which we're about to get in the form of some rain here. So ignore the things that are a little droopy, but I do want to talk about this. This is Mona Magic Plectranthus. It's growing in, hang on. It's growing in a pretty big pot here. And I love this plant. To be honest with you, I don't know that I've ever met a Plectranthus I didn't love. I really like Plectranthus a lot. By the way, they're in the coleus is technically Plectranthus. So they're all in the same family. Doesn't ask for anything. And now, granted, it has, there's flower buds on it. And those will be the first flowers that I've seen all year if they actually come. But nothing bothers it. Deer don't eat it. Rabbits don't eat it. It stands up all on its own because it's got big, thick, square stems. And I think the foliage color, which is sort of like, well, it's purple on the underside and the top side is just deep, deep, deep green with a hint of olive in it. I think it lends itself to so many applications. Now I've got it growing up in a fair amount of sun I've got a sister to this plant, which is Mona Lavender, growing up in a fair amount of sun. This is pretty shady over here. So it's just doing great over here. A+ would grow this plant over and over and over again. I hope I'm going to be able to find it in the future. There's two plants in this container that I want to give high praise to. The first is this, I guess this is technically a Rex begonia, I think. Maybe it's not, I don't know. This is Lunar Light Sterling Moon begonia. Just so good. I love this. In fact, this one might come inside. We'll see. I'm being very selective about what comes inside this year, and this might make the cut because it's that good. The other plant in here that I wanted to talk about is this begonia. Now, I love all the begonias in here, but this is Iconia citrix begonia. There might be another word in that name, but it's citrix is what you need to remember. And it is the most lovely sort of, it's yellow, but there's sort of salmon colors in the middle. It tinges toward even peach in some places. And it is just, some of these flowers are just to die for here. I'm going to, right now, for this moment, I'm going to say it's maybe my favorite begonia, period. I'm also growing it in this container over here. I feel like it looks a little bit more yellow here. And so maybe this is a thing of plant it with plants that you want to bring a certain color out in. So, over here, I feel like I'm picking up more of those sort of peachy salmon tones. Maybe that's because I'm growing it with these other salmon begonias. I'm pretty much in love with that begonia. Well, clearly this plant is past its prime, but I wanted to tell you about it anyway because you can see what this was basically. So this is Veronica Skyward Blue. Now, for a couple of years now, I've been singing the praises of Veronica Skyward Pink. It is maybe the best performing Veronica I've ever had. Now, I do like White Wands Veronica quite a bit too. That one tends to have smaller flowers. These are a little bit bigger, and I think that the time that the flowers stick around for is longer on these. That's been my experience. This is the blue in that series. I think there's also a lavender in this series as well. And you can tell that there's nothing left on these flowers. But the other ones that I've had, I've cut back several times. This one I did not cut back. But I think this is just, so, don't pay attention to this. Although it's not the worst looking thing to have in your garden. Later in the season. These seed heads are not bad. But this is a robust, healthy, great repeat bloomer in the garden. And I'm really happy that the blue performed as good as the pink has performed for me because, I probably would rather have a little bit more blue in my garden than pink. Well, I had to quick film this and add this to the end of the video because as I was editing, I realized I forgot two plants that I really wanted to talk about. And they actually happen to be planted right next to one another. The first one is Supertunia Cool Jazz, which, well, I'm out here in the evening, which is actually helpful because this is one of those plants that has a glow to it. I would describe the color personally as a very, I think it's actually more lavender than it is cool pink, personally. But it absolutely has a bit of an opalescence quality to it, and so it does glow at night. It is one of maybe 3 petunias that I grew this year at all. I did not fertilize it. I haven't done a lot of supplemental watering to it. I haven't touched it pretty much at all since I planted it. And you can see that it's still looking good there. It's over here too. It's getting a little crowded out by a few other things in this area. But I think this is a good example. Imagine what this looks like if you actually pay attention to it and fertilize it and stuff. Next to it is one of the new lobelias that's coming out next year. I think this is the lavender one. I love these 2 plants together. I really think they look really good together. You know that these have a tendency to really fizzle out in the heat. These did very well over here. They're big. They seem quite vigorous to me. And I like both of them, and I would happily grow both again. And honestly, for me to say that about a petunia is a pretty big deal, because I've soured a little bit on petunias in some situations, and I think both of these are total winners. So as you might recall, I also added a lot of trees and shrubs to the garden this year, but because it's the first year, I don't really think that's a fair shake for anything. So I'm not gonna get into those yet. We'll have to wait a couple of years to feel out how those all do. The Heptacodium, Seven Suns flower tree, is behind me here, and I love it, but obviously we'll see how things go over the long haul. Now I'm sure I missed some of the outstanding new plants in my garden in this video. It was not really meant to be comprehensive, but these are the ones that have been standing out to me lately anyway. And if I forgot something that you saw me plant and you want to hear about it, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you on that there. In the meantime, I'd also like to hear what new or new to you plant you grew this year that is blowing your socks off, or that you do not like at all. That's maybe even more fun. Let me know down in the comments about that too. In the meantime, have a great day in your garden. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.